go. Hey guys, welcome to the start of what I think is going to be an incredibly fun video. So I am here to try to solve the mystery of The Peril at End House by Agatha Christie. I saw Emmy do this on a video recently. She was trying to solve the murder of Roger Ackroyd by Agatha Christie, and I just knew I had to do this. I kind of did something similar over on Patreon back in like February or something. We were reading a book together in Agatha Christie, but I did not plot out all the characters and the times, and I'm going to be doing that now. I have a set of sticky notes, which I might need to get more of actually, and I am going to be documenting all the things that happen in this book and trying to figure out who done it. Normally, what I like about Agatha Christie books is that you can solve the mystery. The suspects are all there, the clues are all there, but I don't normally solve it. And that's like good and bad. No, it's really good. I don't necessarily usually try to solve it because I like to get caught up in the story and enjoy it. At the same time, I like to know that I could have solved it. I don't know if that makes any sense. That might make me a weird reader. But this time we are going to give this a try. And when I say we, I mean me, I guess. I will let you guys know before I say my guess of who it is before we get to the end. You can stop if you don't want to know the ending. You can stop and go and read the book or whatever. But if you want to come along for the journey until that point, you're more than welcome to. My goal here is to start reading, start taking notes, using this wall underneath my TBR shelf to have my like suspects all listed here and see if I can figure it out that way. Normally this book would only take me like a day or two to read, but I'm assuming with all this like stopping and then like sharing what's going on and what I'm thinking, it will take longer, but we're gonna give this a try and we'll see how long this ends up and how far off I end up being. So this one is a Hercule Poirot mystery, Poirot if you want to be really French, but I'm lazy. And then on the back of this book, there is just like the teeniest, tiniest blurb. It says, 3 near-fatal accidents in 3 days. As Miss Buckley told of her narrow brush with death, Hercule Poirot felt a thrill of fear. Were these accidents or attempted murder? So it doesn't actually sound like there's an actual murder happening. I picked this book over all my other unread Agatha Christie because I was looking up lists of the best Agatha Christie books, and the first list I found, I'd already read all those. The second list, this was the only one I hadn't read. This is not on the list. There's a list in this edition of Agatha Christie's favorite of her books. This is not one of them, which is kind of unfortunate. So if this is fun, maybe I will take one of her favorites. I read that one, I read that one, I read that one, I read that one, read that one. There are a couple on here I haven't read, although I don't know if I own them. Well, I'll try to find them. If this goes well, if this is fun, then we'll try to get one of Agatha Christie's personal favorites next. So the first thing for me to do here is just to start reading, I guess. This book starts with the missing motives. I don't know if I want to read that. It's like, Perot suspected of the person. Okay, no, that seems a little like spoilery. I'm not reading that right now. But I see that this one actually has a cast of characters. That's helpful. It's kind of like, reminds me of the Aggie Morton books, which are based off of this, up at middle grade, where they have the suspects and they have like the pictures of each of the people. Oh, this has me curious. Okay, I'm going to start reading now. Okay, so I just read the beginning of the story. So Poirot is on holidays with Hastings, and Poirot trips and is helped by this lady whose name is Nick Buckley. So I've got some information here. She has a drink with them and tells them that she has had 3 near-death escapes from death. Yeah, near-death escapes from death, obviously, in the last 3 days. And then while she is sitting there, she is shot through the hat. And I don't think she even notices this. Like, they thought a pebble hit the floor, but it turns out it was a spent bullet and there's a hole in her hat. Then she goes on to have lunch with her friends, George, who is an English Navy commander. Poirot seems to not like him already. She also has lunch with Jim. According to Hastings, he has a sleekness about him that is not a positive thing. And also a lady whose name we haven't been given yet, but Hastings described her as tired in the mind, not in the body. And this lady claims that Nick is a liar. She said, "She's the most heaven-sent little liar that ever existed. Amazing is quite the gift." So, yeah. So I'm assuming she kind of says that she thinks that Nick has made up all of these accidents that have happened recently. So I'm assuming there was the 3 accidents that she talked about and then 1 more. So we're at 4. And now Poirot has made plans to meet her in the evening. And he, I think, wants to find out more. But first she's going motoring with her friends, I think. And Poirot's a little bit concerned that she might not come back. But assuming she does, he's going to meet with her. And that took me all the way up to page 26, and the book started on page 9, so I've read 15 pages. But this is my start to it, and I don't even know what the accidents are yet. So I guess we will keep going here. Okay, so things are kind of unraveling here in the book. All my sticky notes fell down, so I've got a little bit of masking tape here, and I will try to stick them up. And then I will talk about the 4, originally 3, different attempts on her life, on Nick's life, who her actual name is Magdala, but her grandfather his name was Nick, and she was very similar to him, so they called him Old Nick and she was Young Nick. So she goes by Nick. And then the Weary Madonna girl, I found out her name is Freddie. Gotta add that to this. And then I'll just put these back on here, and then we will talk a little bit more about all this. Okay, so here is what I have. We've got Nick. She is the one who is having some attempts on her life, which we'll talk about. We've got George Challenger. He is the English Navy commander. He seems to have a thing for Nick. Then Freddie is the girl that Hastings described as very weary in the mind, not in the body. She is Nick's friend. And then Jim Lazarus, he has a very fancy sports car, and his father is an art dealer, so they have a lot of money. There is kind of a bit of a thing between Freddie and Jim, but Freddie is divorced, not quite divorced. She left her husband, tried to file for a divorce, he disappeared. So she's not technically divorced, so nothing can happen between them. And that's what I know there. Now, the 4 different attempts on her life I have here. This is a lot of little sticky notes. Attempt number 1, a picture frame fell over her bed, and she said it would have totally taken her out. It was a very heavy one, but she had heard a door bang, so she went to check on it, and then the frame crashed down. So where should I put these? Maybe I'll put these over here. Put them up higher. I'm kind of thinking it'd be kind of cool to print out some pictures representing these different people who are going to be our suspects. We'll see how that goes. I'm sorry if the kids are like getting picked up. They're just like playing in the background. Attempt number 2, she was bathing in, I'm pretty sure that just means swimming, and a boulder came roaring down and just missed her. Attempt number 3, It had something to do with the brakes of her car. She was saying she's not very good at that kind of thing. So we could talk to, I think one of the guys, I think Jim Lazarus. Actually, we could go to the garage and talk to the guys there. I think that's what it was. And something had been unscrewed. It was kind of her way of figuring it out. And the garage that her car is kept in is never locked. So anyone really could have done something there and no one would have noticed them. And then attempt number 4 was a shot in the garden. That's the one with Perot. The bullet went through the hat, and we find out that the pistol that Perot said what kind of pistol the bullet was from, and she's like, wait, I have one of those. So she goes to check. It's gone. So it was her own gun, and Perot thinks this would have been made to look like suicide. So I should write that down, that suicide part, because of like attempt number 4 here. Thought to be made like to look like suicide, so someone would have shot her, she would go down, they would go put the pistol by her. That instantly makes me suspect George why can't I get anything right? Challenger, because he came out to the garden to get her, find her from when she was talking to Hastings and Perot, and he's supposed to be like, you know, like this caring friend, and she was late and all that, but maybe he was actually coming to place the gun, but then realized that he missed. So there's a thought. Now, onto all our suspects that we have so far. So we've got George, Freddie, Jim, and then we have a couple more people here. So Perot goes and talks to her. We've got some kind of gardener guy. I don't know his name yet. He's 60, about 6 feet, powerful frame, weathered face, almost bald, blue eyes. So there's him. Doesn't seem like he'd be the kind of guy, but maybe. And then Ellen is the woman who opened the door. Obviously some kind of servant of sorts. Middle-aged. I think middle-aged though. I thought they said that the gardener was her husband. I don't remember that. I need to double check. Then Perot was asking if she had any enemies or who would stand to inherit her house. She has no enemies, and she said her cousin Charles would stand to get the house, but it's like mortgaged to the hilt, so it's not like they'd be coming into anything. So Charles, he gets everything she dies. He's a lawyer, and she said he's good but dull. So that's one of our suspects. And then the last one that I'm aware of are this couple called the Crofts. They are renting Nick's lodge, and she described them as oppressively kind. So kind of doesn't seem like it would be them, but who knows. I think he likes to garden. He's not very impressed with how the grounds have been kept up, I think. So maybe this is the gardener guy. I'm kind of confused on this. The wife is a cripple apparently, and they've been here from 6 months. They are from Australia. I didn't write that down. Okay, so I need to tape all of these things up yet, but that's how we're looking so far. I have no idea. So far, George has made me the most suspicious, but that's just because he kind of happened to be there right afterwards. I'm not sure if there's going to be more of a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. The Crofts, I put them down as one, but it is 2 people. I don't know if there's going to be more people on the suspect list here, or if this is it. I am maybe slightly disappointed that there is no actual murder to like a real crime scene really to look at, because that would be interesting. There we go. So I have all that information, and I am only 40 pages in. Right now Nick is kind of describing the people. I forgot to write that Freddie is separated. And it seems like Perot maybe thinks that George wishes to marry Nick, but she doesn't see why they should get married. She's not really that interested. And yeah, so only that much in. We will see how things unfold from here. I've read that much now and have a ton of sticky notes to talk about. They of course fell, so I don't remember the order, but the plot is thickening. I will go in this non-particular order. Okay, Jim Lazarus. He offered to pay Nick £50 for a portrait of old Nick, and Perot seems to think that's suspicious. So we'll put that with Jim's stuff. I mean, it's just a portrait. Why offer £50? Okay, so Nick made a will 6 months ago when she was having an operation for appendicitis. She's leaving the house to Charles, the rest goes to Freddie, but she thinks it's going to be more liabilities than assets. But that will go with Nick there. We found out a little bit about Mrs. Croft. She was in an accident on the train in Italy. So they came from Australia and did a little bit of a European tour, and so she needs to rest. She might be able to, I don't know if she's like crippled for life or if it's something she can get better with rest. Her husband is Bert Croft. They kind of seem to see, this is what happens in Agatha Christie books. Everyone seems a little bit guilty. It seems like there might be more to the Crofts than what's going on, but that might not have anything to do with Nick. I'm not sure. Then Edith is, yeah, I'm gonna have to tape these on right away. Edith is another character. We haven't actually met her, but they mentioned her, so I want to say she is Mrs. Croft's nurse assistant. She comes each morning, because with Agatha Christie you never know who is going to be the guilty person. Freddie apparently got into town the day before the bullet incident, so that means she wasn't there for the first few incidents. She says she was in a particular town, Tavistock, but Perot, through some digging, found out she wasn't really there. So something sketchy is going on there. Honestly, I think there's something between Jim Lazarus and Freddie. I think they're a couple, but maybe not like officially saying they're a couple. Some of the language in the book is interesting because the words they use mean certain things now in our day and age, but I don't think that's what it meant here. Like, they're talking about Freddie and Nick are talking about some guy some summer and how that was Nick's conquest, and I feel like that has some kind of it means something here now, and I don't think it's necessarily what that means here. I'm not really sure. Oh, another person we are introduced to is Maggie. She is Nick's cousin that is going to come out and stay with her. Yeah, this one's not gonna stay. Because Perot wants Nick to have someone kind of there with her, watching her to keep her safe. Then, what happens? Cousin Charles is in love with Nick according to Mrs. Croft, and he was not in his office at the time of the bullet. So where's Charles? So that's fishy. Then, so I put Maggie on here because I was like, you never know with Agatha Christie. But then attempt number 5 happened. There was fireworks one evening, lots of people were out, there was a dance, and Nick went back. She was wearing this shawl. She went back to get a warmer coat, and Perot and Hastings are going back to the house for some reason, and they find out that another attempt has been made on Nick's life, and the person has accidentally killed Maggie instead because she was wearing Nick's shawl at the time. I believe she was shot. So we have another attempt at her life, and this time someone was actually murdered. Then, how did this happen here? So after attempt number 5, after Maggie, who's Ellen? Ellen, right. Ellen is the, like, maid lady. She was coming down the stairs, I think, and Hastings was going up, and she could tell by his face that something sketchy was going on, something bad happened, and she was kind of freaking out and thinking something happened to Nick, but not really like it was like maybe she knew that something happened to Nick or knew something was supposed to. Yeah, so just another person that could potentially seem a little guilty. So this is how the wall's shaping up. I gotta add some tape to it, and then I'm gonna keep reading and see. I feel like anyone can be guilty pretty much, but I'm not I'm not really like leaning towards one person. It kind of like constantly flips back and forth. Oh, and there was something else about Charles. They asked Charles if Nick would be willing to sell the house. Perot was pretending he was interested in buying it. And Nick talked about how like, or Charles said that Nick is like so attached to the house he would never sell it. But that wasn't the indication that they got from Nick. Like, she didn't want to sell the house, but she wasn't as dedicated to it as Charles made it out to be, so also kind of sketchy. I have no idea who is doing this, or if it's multiple people or what, but maybe I will be able to figure it out. So I've been continuing my reading, and I think this is the first time in an Agatha Christie book where like Poirot actually makes a list of all the suspects or potential people. So he's got Ellen, the like maid lady, her gardener husband, we still don't know his name, their child, which has been mentioned but we've not seen anything of, Mr. Croft, Mrs. Croft, Freddie and Jim and George Challenger, who my son, when he saw it up here, I told him it was like George Challenger. I was like telling him all about this and he accidentally called him Dodge Challenger, so that's just what I keep calling him in my head now. Charles, and then he has a J, which would be like an outsider they're not aware of yet. And then they like so nicely go and break down different things about the people, their motives and notes. Pretty much at this point, Perot is thinking George, Freddie, Jim, Charles is pretty much what he's kind of thinking. He doesn't think the Crofts have anything to do with it, the Crofts, or like Edith has never really been mentioned before. Maggie's now dead, and there could be an outsider that we don't know. And he doesn't seem to think Ellen or the gardener husband or their child has anything to do with it, probably. But then I also don't know, is this trying to throw me off? I don't know. It's got like slight motives for each person. I kind of wonder, at this point, I'm wondering if Jim and Freddie are in on this together. Freddie and Nick seem to have a little bit of a, I don't know, typical female drama relationship where they are friends, but they kind of like want to gouge each other's eyes out at the same time. I get a little bit of that like backstabbing vibe to it. And I think that Jim and Freddie are an item. And I'm kind of wondering if, so old Nick was a gambler. I'm wondering if he came into some money and it has something to do with the portrait. Maybe it's hidden. I don't know. I don't know if it has something to do with the portrait and if they can't get the portrait, they're trying to just take her out because Charles gets the house but Freddie gets the stuff. I'm not sure, but I'm kind of leaning towards them in cahoots together. Actually, George, Perot doesn't suspect at all. He doesn't really have any like reason to do any of this, no motive. I don't know. I'm kind of leaning towards Freddie and Jim right now, but I got more book to go, more of Agatha Christie to throw me for a few loops, but I wanted to come on and say this on video and either make a fool of myself or actually make myself sound smart if I actually kind of am getting towards solving this. So I'm on page, I just finished this chapter actually, so I am on page 104 out of like, try not to look at the answers, number or pages. Okay, try not to look at like words that give away things is what I was trying to say. There's like 220-ish pages left, so I've got about 100 pages to go. Yeah, I feel like Perot laying it out like that makes things a little easier. That really makes me wonder if he's just trying to throw me off and it's going to be one of the people that he said don't really matter. Something's going on with the Crofts. Either they're like not Australian or because they were really poor but then they had this European trip and maybe they just won the lottery and they didn't want anyone to know. There's something fishy, but I'm not sure if that has anything to do with these attempted murders. So just keep plugging away, I guess. We are now at that point where I'm like, it was everyone. They were all in it together because everyone has something suspicious or some kind of like motive or means, or everyone's just a little bit sketchy. And Agatha Christie obviously does this on purpose. She likes to make us suspect everyone. So I've just been writing down all the clues. I have a bunch more sticky notes here. Currently I am that far, kind of near the beginning of chapter 15. So here's what I've learned since the last update. Freddie has been doing drugs since at least last February. Freddie. Yes, we found that out. I think it was via some letters, which I will talk about that right away. Okay, so where do we even start here? Oh, Ellen's gardener husband, they had a child. I forgot to put that person on here. Apparently he's 10 years old and ugly, and also doesn't have a good personality or something. So here's what happened. They found out that Nick was secretly engaged to a guy who is some kind of like airman. He was mentioned at the beginning of the book, but not really. It was just like a newspaper article that this guy was doing some kind of journey and he went missing, and it turns out she was secretly engaged to him. And so this guy, Michael Seton, his uncle died about a week before he left, I think, and then Michael went missing. So the uncle is really rich, and that is why they didn't want to announce their engagement, because he's really rich and Michael was going to get the money when he eventually died, and the uncle hates women. So they're thinking that Michael made a will and that would leave Nick in charge, or like she'd be getting a lot of money because they found out that he is now dead, I guess. So if she's inheriting his money, there's a little bit of more motive. I think the attempt on her life happened the day after the guy went missing, but he still wasn't declared dead until like the point in the book where I'm at. So it all seems a little sketchy. Nick only told one person about the engagement, and she hasn't told us who, and it was after he went missing, I think. So we'll put that there. So this ups the ante a bit. There's a lot more money involved, and yeah, so that plays into it. So they found a bunch of love letters from Michael to Nick in her underwear drawer. They suspect that Ellen would have read them because she's the maid, and they figure she would just... Perot mentioned that she probably knows them all by heart. But then they mentioned, and so she would know about the engagement, but they mentioned the engagement to Ellen and she seemed very shocked. So I'll put this with Ellen here. Yeah, not sure where that's going. And then a man suggested to Michael that he make a will before his journey. Yes, we found that out from one of the letters. He said something about a man suggesting that to him. Oh, and then there's some kind of like, I said there's something fishy with Ellen. There's a 1 foot square hidden compartment in the drawing room, according to Ellen, but Nick has no idea about this, so I don't know why would Ellen lie about a hidden compartment. And then back to the will. It was also a man, I think it was a man, it was someone that told Nick to write a will, right? I don't remember it, but it was suggested by someone. Oh, I think this is the sticky note I have in my... Yeah, there's one more here. Mr. Croft got Nick to make the will. He apparently mentioned it offhand. It was shortly after they arrived. Then she went and had her surgery for appendicitis. And Ellen and her husband, whose name is William, we now find out, like way into the book, this guy finally gets a name. William. And apparently he's never doing work. He like sits on the garden tractor or whatever it is and like pretends to be doing stuff, but he's like not doing anything. So she made the will. Ellen and William witnessed it. Then she gave it to Mr. Croft to mail it, and it was supposed to go to Charles. But Charles, according to Charles, he never received it, and according to Croft, he said he posted it. So I don't even know where I put this because this involves so many different people. Perot doesn't seem to think Mr. Croft is guilty because he wasn't really part of this earlier. I'm just gonna put this over here for now because that kind of goes with the will stuff. This is kind of a bit of a disaster, but it's got all my information. So far, I'm kind of, well, like I'm definitely uncertain. The Crofts, something fishy is going on there. I don't think they're part of, still don't think they're part of like this attempted murder. I think that they're probably like, what am I thinking, like con artists or something. Like they were, I feel like they're up to something shady, but I don't think it's this. It might be Charles. It might be Charles. I kind of don't think Ellen and William, they're there. They could have done it, but oh, unless we also know that Nick is very scattered and she leaves her papers everywhere. So if Ellen has come across some information, maybe there's some reason she would want to do it. I'm not sure. I kind of don't suspect. I think it's either Charles or Jim and Freddie at the same time. Right now, I don't see any reason George would want to be doing this. Like, I don't know why he'd want to kill her, but they've barely mentioned him and they like wrote him off so early that it makes me suspicious, but there's really no actual reason that I could be suspicious. So yeah, this is the part where I just feel like an information overload. Oh, maybe when I'm reading it tonight, I think probably by tonight I will get to the part where Poirot sits everyone down. Usually he does this, he sits everyone down and says, okay, here's what happened. So before that happens, I will like lock in my final answer. But for now, I have a little bit more to read, I think, before we get to that point. It's like, I don't really feel confident in my answer. I just feel like, yeah. We'll just have to see what else Agatha Christie throws at us. It's probably something like super little that I'm missing too, but oh well. Oh, one more thing. I didn't write this one down. So they sent Nick to a nursing home, which I don't think it's nursing home. I think it's just like a little hospital. I don't know, like a private hospital or something. I'm not sure. Because she also went to a nursing home after her appendix operation, so I'm kind of confused. But they sent her there and told the doctors to not let anyone visit her except Peril and Hastings. And people have tried, and some people have sent flowers, and someone sent grapes, and just like Perot just mentioned, like, don't eat them, don't eat any outside food. So he's worried there will be another attempt on her life, and that her being there will eliminate or reduce the risk. But I'm assuming maybe someone will try to come in and eat the grapes and then they'll die or get really sick, and that will be another attempt on her life. But I don't really know what's going on. That's why I like Agatha Christie. It's a fun ride. I think my career that I always wanted secretly a little bit as a private detective is just, it's never gonna happen. So I got a little bit more information, and then Perot is putting on some kind of play. I'm assuming the next chapter is going to be the play, and everyone's going to be gathered there, and then is going to be the big reveal. So I'm going to tell you what I know. I'm going to tell you my final guesses, and then I'm going to read the last two chapters on camera here. Maybe I'll share some thoughts as I go, but this way you'll get to see my reactions. Okay, randomly. For some reason Perot wanted to know about George's uncle. He mentioned he was a doctor, like, randomly. It turns out, according to Perot, he's a ladies' doctor, and by that he means like a nerve doctor that gives all these weird, I don't know, prescriptions, but like tells them to do all these weird things. So that's there. That makes me wonder, is this doctor providing Freddie with her drugs? That's what I'm wondering, because they also don't know where she's getting those from. What else did I learn? No crofts of the description of our crofts are known in Australia. I don't know, I guess you just put in a phone call and the people at the head of Australia just know everyone and they can tell you if they're legit or not. And also Jim Lazarus, his father's art business is not doing well. So I got that information. And Jim used to have a thing for Nick. That's kind of an aside thing. George and Freddie didn't know of the engagement, so they say. And there was a note found at the scene where everyone was watching the fireworks that had snippets that sounded like blackmail and talking about money. And it looked like it was written by Freddie, I think is what they said. It matched her writing in the letter that she had written to Nick. So there's that. Oh, where do I put this? It's just, let's put it over here. This feels way too much like just information overload. Then there was attempt number 6 on her life, which they're calling number 5. Apparently they're not calling Maggie dying an attempt, but I think that counts. So she was in this nursing home thing, and she ate a chocolate out of a box of chocolates, and it had cocaine in it. So she had cocaine poisoning. It came with a note saying it was from Peril. He had purchased carnations, I think, flowers anyway, for her, and had written a note, and it seems to have been forged to look like that one. George was there at the time that he bought those flowers, so that makes George look extra fishy. All of a sudden this guy that's been flying under the radar is looking fishy. Perot, like Hastings, he's like buddy-buddy with George, so he thinks there's no way he could have done it. But Perot keeps saying, like, don't trust anyone, and so then I'm like, well, maybe it is George. I really don't know. I think it's 2 people still, but it could be anyone. The Crofts, I am wondering, because old Nick was known to be a gambler, maybe they were kind of in on something and they're coming back to get their money even though there's no money. Then what is with Jim and this painting? Why did he offer more for the painting than it was worth? And I'm like, is there some kind of like art forgery going on? He would know the value of the art, and it was only valued at like 20 pounds and he offered 50, so that doesn't make any sense. Is it sentimental? Did he care about old Nick? Is there something hidden in it? I don't know. Ellen and William and their son are kind of creepy, weird people, but I don't think that they did it. But then, here's the other thing. Now, they are pretending that Nick has died. Perot's having a blast, just pretending to be devastated. Everyone's in mourning. And now the will that went missing it arrives at Charles' desk, according to him. So either he was hiding it or someone sent it now. Charles phoned up Poirot and told him this, but he didn't tell him what was in the will. I'm wondering if the will has been changed. But he didn't inquire, so I don't know, because Croft said he put it in this area wherever they put the mail, and it was supposed to go to the post. But anyone could have taken it and done whatever they wanted with it before it went. So someone maybe, I don't know, just wanted to hide it. Maybe someone wanted to change it, like do some forging. There seems to be a forgery thing going on. The way they talked about the blackmail and how it looked like Freddie's writing also made it sound like it wasn't really Freddie's writing. But then there was a moment where Freddie came in the room and like looked at the table by where Perot and Hastings were and pretty much passed out. And I was wondering if that blackmail paper was on the table. Oh, you guys, I'm supposed to make an educated guess here after all this information, and I feel like no one, I don't really understand who would have done it. So Nick was coming into all this money, so it's for money, and Freddie has been named her, like, that she's going to get the money. I'm just trying to think this through. So it makes sense for Freddie to try to kill her. If it is Freddie, I think she's had a partner, and all along I thought it was Jim, but now with some of this recent stuff I'm kind of leaning towards George. But George seems to love Nick, so why would George try to kill her? I don't know. Maybe blackmail. Maybe because he's been getting her the drugs. I need to find that blackmail letter. I will read to you the little snippet. It's like the middle of a letter that they got. The police had found it and then gave it to Poirot. Oh, here. So the one line says, "Must have money at once. If not, you." And then the other line they have is, "What will happen? I'm warning you." I really don't know. There's also things that have been happening at the end where they kind of are making it seem like it's not Freddie. I feel like it's Freddie and one of the guys. Other than the blackmail, I don't know why George would do it. Jim apparently used to like Nick, so maybe it makes more sense for him to want her dead because, you know, he'd be jealous. I'm just processing this. There's also the cousin Charles. We haven't had a whole lot of interaction with him. He doesn't seem like the nicest guy, but I don't really see why it would be him. I guess if the will wasn't found, it would go to next of kin, so it would go to him. So there's that. I can't like confidently say, you know, Colonel Mustard in the library with a wrench or anything like that. I am going to say, oh, I really can't pick between Jim and George. I feel like Jim is more fishy, but I don't know why it would be Jim. George, maybe if he's being blackmailed. Freddie, because she's gonna get the money. Who else needs money? Jim needs money. We don't know anything about George's financial state. I'm just gonna stick with my original guess, Freddie and Jim. I don't feel super confident, obviously, but I can't think of any other reasoning for these people. I think I've talked this out enough. So I'm going to change my camera batteries so they don't die on me here, and then I'm going to read the last bit and see how I did. Page 198, and we finally learned that the Ellen's child's name is Alfred. That was a little delayed. That's all I know so far. Okay, so they haven't revealed anything yet, but they're reading her last will and testament before this play happens. And it says she directs all her funeral expenses paid and appoints her cousin Charles as her executor. She leaves everything of which I die possessed to Mildred Croft in grateful recognition of the services rendered by her to my father Philip Buckley, with which services can never repay. And it's signed by Ellen and William. So this is a different will than Nick said. So it's been changed. And this changes things, for sure. Apparently there was some kind of scandal in Australia, but Mrs. Croft will not say what it was. And also this is the first time that we're learning that her name is Mildred. And now Perot has suggested a seance where they try to, you know, reach the ghost of Nick, which they're going to do because she's there, but she's not a ghost, so. Okay, so I think that's pretty much the end. I mean, I still have, oh wait, there's still multiple chapters left, but Nick came in and Mrs. Croft was saying it was all a joke, my dear, all a joke. That's all it was, honest. So, and her name's Millie Merton. According to the detective, Jap, he said she's up to her old tricks. She's a forger. And now Nick is saying, no, like this is what I actually wrote in my will. And now she's been shot? Spurt of flame from the window and the hiss of a bullet, yeah. But I think just in her arm. Man, this never ends. So there is a J. When they keep talking about A to J, and they have all the people, and J is a nobody. But how do you know who the nobody is? Okay. I don't know what's going on. The limp body of a man. Okay, so J is Freddie's husband. And then Freddie saw his handwriting on a torn piece of paper on oh my goodness, Poirot's table. It was part of a letter he had sent to her. But she doesn't think that he would want to poison her. See, there's more going on than there's another person. The person K is the next chapter. You guys, I'm not very good at this. So we've got Crofts, and we've got a guy that wasn't in the book at all. Oh man, so there's another person. K has a different significance. It stands for a person who should have been included in the original list, but who was overlooked. It wasn't the husband that killed Maggie, it was a person K. Whoa. This. Nick shot Maggie? What? What? Oh, what? No. What? Apparently, this Michael whatever his name was actually engaged to Maggie. She had the same name. Her name was also Magdala Buckley. Ooh, to have one person with that name, never mind, two. And they were engaged, and okay, I did not see this coming. This is much deeper than I thought. So she poisoned herself with the chocolates, just enough to make herself sick. Oh man, this is good. I like these kind of twists. Man, like, I like to think that I could have solved this, but it's even more fun when you try to solve it and you didn't. There have been a couple Agatha Christies that I've tried to solve. I did one with my Patreon back last winter, and you know, for moments you think you have it and then you have no idea, and then it comes out and you're like, oh, I didn't see that coming. That is what I like. I did not see this coming. So I'm assuming I should maybe just read these final few pages and see if there's anything else. Okay, so I missed this, that apparently Poirot told Nick to send for a friend, and he says, when I urged her to send for a friend, she promised to do so and suppressed the fact that she had already sent for her. So that was like a time when she lied, obviously, but I didn't see that. Oh, I didn't catch this. So the letters that she had from her fiance, which was actually Maggie's fiance, were just a few pulled out of a pile, the ones that didn't say name specific things. And then when she had her operation, there was a letter dated shortly after that, and he didn't express any concern over her illness. So, I was right about something. I was right about something. George is dealing drugs. He's dealing it through the watches. Okay, so that's just like a random thing that was noted. So I'm assuming she's maybe going to kill herself because Freddie just gave her her watch. Ooh, tricky business. Okay, so I think the one remaining question is, why did Jim offer so much for that painting? And he said he knew it wasn't worth more than 20 pounds, but if Nick brought someone in to see how much it was worth and she found out that he offered 50 when it was only worth 20, she wouldn't get someone to ask the next time he put in an offer, and the picture on the far wall is worth at least 5,000 pounds. So he was gonna offer less for it. Okay, I'm done. I did not see that coming. I really like that. Like, I mean, maybe this video would have been kind of cool if I had figured it out, but I like that I didn't, so there's that. This might be fun to do again sometime. I've done like most of the popular Agatha Christie, but if there is a particular one that you would like me to see, me try to solve, leave it in the comments below. This was fun, even though I'm terrible at it. Thanks for being here with me, guys.